Hello, aged care. Welcome to Smarter Selling. I'm Charmaine Keegan, the founder, director, and the lead trainer at Smarter Selling. And my job is to help you as an aged care provider, help you, your leaders, and your teams find selling, communicating, influencing, customer service easy and natural, to do so with integrity and authenticity, to do so from the heart. The intent is to help and to look after. Now, we know that majority there in your organization have come from a care background. They might be because one of their loved ones has come into care with you, or because they're an ex-nurse or OT or social worker. We know that the care factor, the empathy is rocket high, okay? We also know there's a lot of compliance in that, which means along with that, they are often inward compliance heavy, not contact sport, substance heavy with a client. So we know that already. So the other arm to go along with the expertise we talk about is the sales, communication, influence, and customer service. And that's where we step in to help people. So we run a very hands-on, practical, relevant program, multiple programs to help you and your team step into, embrace, and with certainty and confidence, know what to do and how to do it. We have 3 different areas to how we do that. The first area is understanding you and your organization, where you're currently at, what the marketplace is doing around you, the challenges, your team's challenges, because of course they're your challenges, what the focus and priority areas are for this phase 1 of the program. There's usually at least 4 or 5 phases, what we want to achieve in phase 1. Then we get buy-in from all the leaders and we get buy-in from the team. You get a training guidance. Every page is what happens before, during and after the program. It's got downloads on there. It's very clearly marked out, and you have a team member from Smarter Selling. Our main team member lead when it comes to aged care is Anne-Marie. She's in this sector 3 days a week. So she's the main lead to get everything she needs to have. She wants to look at email, she wants to listen to phone calls, she wants to see your literature, your value proposition. We want to know exactly what's happening, the priority for this part of the program. Then we run the program. Now, by then, we'll have reached out to the team, we'll have got buy-in, they would have seen the value of their development, and we run a very hands-on, practical, relevant program. They will be saying every 20 minutes, this is so obvious, why am I not doing this? Oh my goodness, that's exactly me. We want to make sure they're safe, we're on the same side, there's not a PowerPoint, the leader's on at the back judging, we're in amongst it, and we have a very clear structure. Within that, we have a lot of fun. We have loads of questions. We make it very valuable. We want people to come out of their shell and love what they're doing. So that part of the empathy and being the trusted advisor is easily married up with keeping the lights on and keeping your organization afloat, because they'll end up knowing with the time we've got together that the more clients you get on board means you've got more finances to get more people on board and to offer other services and other solutions to your clients. So that's the program. Hands-on, practical, very, very relevant, lots of thinking and doing. We're obsessed with how people learn. Huge amount of mindset before, so they see the value before they turn up. When they turn up, make sure it's a really great experience. They learn and they evolve. And then afterwards, we have a full online academy for aged care for them to plug into. Again, it's all down to the leaders. The leaders are driving the bus. So we keep very close to those leaders. And then the team members usually told to get into a buddy system. And the buddy system simply means you're with somebody else. I have my book from the program, which will be customized and tailored to you. And I have 15 minutes a week with Juliet. And Juliet and me both have the book. And we also have the academy, which is the full online suite. And each section has multiple videos, and each video is around 3 to 4 minutes. So it's bite-sized pieces. There's a download interactive workbook. It's a world-class video lessons, like it's a world-class online system. And I'm constantly adding videos and tweaking things because the evolution of how we communicate is always evolving. That's always up to date. So I get together with Juliet and I say, Juliet, on Thursday at 4, let's talk about not being information transfer. And we look at our notes and those 2 pages about how we can get into information transfer. And Juliet looks as well, and we discuss insights, comments, questions, what's happened. Maybe the next week, Juliet says to me, oh, let's talk about questions. So there's 8 pages on questions and understanding your client and not assuming, not projecting. So she might say, go to page 6 to 15. and we'll read that, and I might just jump on the Academy and listen to the ones on there as well about questions. So again, we get together at 4 o'clock and we now are both armed with a refresher, and we discuss results, successes, what happened that week. You can see the picture here. That's called a buddy system. In the training guidance that leaders get, it explains what happens here on the program and then what happens after, because we need that leader to drive the bus. And so the Academy is ongoing so that everyone sees that working for your organization, part of the fabric of working there is that you're always evolving. There's no such thing as closure. You're always picking up tips. You're always picking up other ways to communicate more effectively and to understand others. So now I think I'll give you a little bit of a peek into the Academy. And when it comes to compliance, that's what can happen. Basically, we're so heavy on compliance. When we're engaging with Frank, we're sort of more into our back-end system, filling in the fields, asking questions, yes, but are we truly present and absorbing what he's saying? We're more compliant, filling it in, and he'll know the difference, right? So when you're really present, you're using the compliance and the infrastructure and your CRM as a framework to really get substance and to be really fully involved and in a bubble in that conversation. You want to know why Frank says he wants this and not this. You want to know what he likes and doesn't like. You want to know what his expectations are so you can manage them. The more you are present and in a bubble and asking those great questions that we just went through, the more you can understand him. And of course, that makes it much easier for you then to explain how your solution, your services, your center can be of service to him. But the big thing is to get out of the fact that we're compliant heavy and to get into the engaging, rapport, understanding, and get into that game and use that as infrastructure. Now, let's move on. And then you have to ask yourself, are you then information transfer? Meaning you've got all your features and benefits, points of difference, or your value proposition, and now you're educating Frank. You're just passing it over, because one part is passing it over, another part is passing over what's relevant, landing in a way that makes sense to Frank and getting buy-in. They're two different things. And sometimes I feel when I listen to calls, I think, I'm not sure if Frank at the end understood who that person was. I think they felt really well educated, but the person had no underlying commercial acumen to float it naturally onto a sale. It should be a flow. Instead, they've left it to them. Their projections come in, I'll leave it to you. So that information transfer, educated and informed, Frank's got off the phone. An hour later, another aged care centre's called in and he's picked up and said yes to them. And that happens a lot, because when you hear the calls, you're like, actually, I end up being compliant heavy, and then I was information transfer. I didn't really tie it back to what he said. I didn't really get buy-in. I didn't really open up conversation about it and then say to Frank, well, if that suits you, Frank, sounds like it does, and you align with us, right, the next steps are, and that should be a natural flow, the next steps are a caseworker will get in contact, etc. And so when you're engaged, and then you have to ask yourself, are you transferring rapport in a way where you're building up the next person so that Sarah feels comfortable what's going to happen next? And you've said, oh, Suzanne's going to meet you. She's been working here for 12 years. You're building up. You're saying the next person is also the trusted advisor, the authority in their field and the subject matter expert. That should be natural and a flow and tied in with those things we talked about, framing the client and also managing their expectations. So then you do that, and then the next step after that would be to ask. And that's what you are. You are the director of first impressions, the very first touch point they're going to have to influence, to get them on board, to see your enthusiasm, to feel the energy that you're bringing to the table. Often we think our job is triage. Our job is to take their details, triage them on. When you realize that you're the director of first impressions, you realize you're the biggest influencer that that person has. And how you act and how you behave is going to wow them at every touch point. They need to get off that phone, either already signed up or thinking, I need to go back there. That person understands me. That's an organization I feel aligned with. That's the feeling they need to have. Right, let's go through 3 things you can do when you're the director of first impressions. So number 1, and that's what happens at the tour. We want to make sure that they're sold before they turn up for the tour. They already want to come to your facility. You've kept eyeballs off the room and off the money and onto the facility and the community and all the other unique selling points that you have. So they're pre-sold before they arrive. We go for those 4 touch points, making sure everybody's on board at the centre. They all know Frank's coming and Frank's son. They know what he likes, he doesn't like, his concerns, everything. You then run, as we discussed before, a very clever tool that's navigating everything at the right time of day with the right people in the room, and you're clever enough to move around. What often happens, as we just discussed, is we can end up being a sort of show and tell. Okay, this is the kitchen, this is that is not what they're buying into. This is their home. The son is thinking, is dad going to be safe? If he needs help, is he going to have it? Frank is thinking all manner of things. We need to dig into that before they come. Frame at the beginning what's going to happen, as we discussed in that previous video about framing and managing expectations, and then making sure they are wowed, and you are constantly observing what they're looking at, what they're concerned about, how their body language has shifted, what questions they're asking as you go around, making sure they've got contact points with Jonathan in that room that loves bridge, and so does he, and he loves the centre, so they can chat. And the chef's going to chat because the chef is brilliant at that type of dessert. And we're going to walk in the garden that day because this is happening. The gardener's going to go, yeah, we do this together. And you're going to change your words according to those videos we just saw there. So you are always landing it in a way that Frank sees the value to him being part of your centre and your community, and he feels empowered and confident at this part of his life. So you're always aware of the language that you're using. And then what's going to happen is, so that's a snapshot of a few little lessons that are in the academy. We love to hear from you, your organisation, how we can be a benefit to you. And then together we discuss all those processes, how we can work together, what your team needs right now, how we run the program with lots and lots of exercises and role plays, but we call them exercises, how we reinforce that so it's in their memory long term and they're doing those behaviours to get the results. And you and I both know that a highly empowered, confident team get successes, feel good about themselves, are great ambassadors for the organisation, but the side effect is also they stay around longer, they contribute more positively to team meetings, they're more dynamic, they're more on board with all the changes that are happening, and, you know, a happy, confident, empowered team attracts like for like. And so the whole team would be going in one direction with a universal process and a common language, and would be delighted and humbled to be part of that with you.